One of the greatest developments in this Democratic primary challenge is that there's more and more focus being put on workers' rights, protecting them from exploitation by their employers, by corporations, by politicians as well. And some of those industries are only now getting the respect, the workers are only now getting the respect that they deserve. And earlier this year, a great example of this, I was joined by a journalist for the Daily Beast, Aurora Snow, to talk about state-level efforts to protect adult film performers from exploitation and sexual harassment on their workforce. Let's watch. I very much enjoyed your write-up about this, and you talked about your own personal history of experience at the hands of this sort of pervasive sexual harassment. This bill, based on what you've experienced, do you think that it would do much to protect women working now from that sort of abuse?
Well, I think it's not just about the bill so much that now there's going to be an awareness directly from talent agents. Back when that happened to me, technically I have a long list of things that count as sexual harassment. But when those things happened to me, I didn't think of it in those terms. And I feel like this generation of performers coming in will start thinking about it in those terms and handling it differently because of this bill.
And in your write-up, you talked not only about the experience of being harassed, but one of the things that was most striking was when you reached out to other people in the industry, your makeup artists, your co-stars, how normalized it actually was. Can you talk about that?
It was incredibly normalized to have a director call me over and have me sit on his lap and grope me and essentially try to have sex before the scene was something that I was supposed to be flattered about. To have male talent maybe come up to you, lift up your shirt, check you out, slap you on the ass before your scene. Those types of things are sexual harassment, but it was the norm, and in many cases still is. And so talking about it in context of, hey, I feel like this was misconduct, to other talent and the makeup artist on set, nobody looks at it that way. And then suddenly you become the complainer or the person who doesn't quite fit into the culture.
And so that really completes the circle of the sexual harassment hostile work environment, where you, even at a young age, you had a sense that your career could be at risk if you were you did raise it as an issue, and unfortunately people didn't have your back. But if you had made a bigger deal out of it, that hypothetically your career could have been severely harmed or perhaps eliminated, correct?
Oh, absolutely. If I had made a big deal out of that, I would have been booked less. I would have been considered difficult to work with. And those aren't the kind of reputations that you want to have a successful career.
And so you talked about how it's not just legislation like the Talent Protections Act, but a change in culture and awareness of what's going on. Over the past few years, we've had simultaneously the Me2 movement. We've also had incredibly powerful people successfully rebuff accusations of sexual harassment and assault, even by dozens of people. To the extent that currently, through the course of the years of the Me2 movement, have we seen an evolution inside of the adult film industry in terms of how these actresses are treated and perceived?
We've definitely seen an evolution brought on by the awareness. Now we're having conversations where directors and colleagues, your fellow performers, are sitting down and having conversations before the scene, and they're talking about things like consent, what's going to happen, what's acceptable. Those conversations weren't happening before, but now we also have this awareness in terms of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. However, there is still an issue with women speaking up on set because they are still dealing with labels like difficult or, hey, she's, you don't want to work with this person because she's going to create problems. When in fact, it's not a problem. You should be okay to address harassment in the workplace.
And there's been a couple, especially in California, because a large portion of the industry is situated here. There have been, over the past few years, a few different sorts of bills, attempts at reform in the industry, and it feels like, I obviously have not worked in the industry. It feels like the people starting these reforms, launching these bills, also have not had any direct, past in the industry. As someone who does know what it's actually like, to what extent, If you could craft a bill, what do you think could be done that would actually be beneficial and help to protect these performers?
In terms of crafting a bill, I think the best thing to do wouldn't be to just speak to one performer. It would be to speak to a group of performers that span generations. Somebody who was in it 10 years ago, somebody who's just entering it now, to get those different perspectives of what's going on in the workplace and what needs to be addressed.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.